My name is Justus and I am a astrophotographer from northern Germany.
Do you have any captures that you could share with us?
First, I'm going to show Messier 30P. It looks like this.
Wow.
It is
So
very pretty.
if I turn this on, you will see that the nebula is expanding.
What is the furthest away image you've taken?
One of my most farthest away objects would be a so-called gravitational lens. So if you have the Earth here and a galaxy here and another galaxy right behind it, so it's one line, the picture that got me an award would be the gravitational lens. What you're seeing here is a really, really small dot of light. This is an image with over 50 hours of exposure time.
What is your setup been? How have you upgraded yourself to your current setup?
So that's the whole thing. You plug it into the telescope and then it shoots pictures. It can screw this off and then you have the sensor right here.
Could you just tell us about your observatory? It was really interesting to see.
You know, I had to set the telescope up with my bare hands every night and then dismantle the telescope, usually in the middle of the night, and that kind of got on my personal nerves. I wanted to have a place where the telescope is permanently mounted.
Theoretically, a black hole is something that has zero light coming out of it. So have you ever captured a black hole?
I photographed the Tone 618. It's one of the most famous and also one of the biggest black holes that we know to this date.
Let's say you're given the chance to go into space. Would you do it?
And the moon, for example, I think it's just a really, really nice, place for radio telescope, especially on the far side of the moon.
Why do we want to look up in the sky?
To basically figure out where we come from. The gold ring that you have on your finger is literally made from gold that has been exploded in a supernova billions or millions of years ago. We have such unimaginably big universe with galaxies that include billions and billions of stars and potentially even habitable planets that life could form on. Our little Earth is just a tiny bit of our galaxy, and our galaxy, the Milky Way, isn't even one of the biggest galaxies out there. So there are many, many bigger. Be amazed by the dimensions and the beauty of the universe.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Ground Control to Major Nerds. We are in season 2, episode 3, and as we promised, we are back with another guest today. And like the last 2 episodes, we had two guests, Shloka and Chris, and we discussed about the aerospace career through an Indian student's perspective and a startup creator's perspective, and also from an MRO owner's perspective. Today we have something different. We have Justus. Hi, welcome to the show. And Justus is actually an astrophotographer. He's from north of Germany, near Hamburg. And also he's been very successful at doing it. He has an Instagram follower, base of around 30,000 followers, and also a TikTok follower base of around 80,000 followers. So welcome, Justus.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, so let's start with also introducing our constant co-hosts, Parvesh and Ashwini. Parvesh, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. So yeah, I'm Parvesh. I'm a business analyst by trade, and I'm an aerospace engineer who focused on combustion and propulsion. And I'm also the anime and gaming expert here.
Great. Ashwini, how are you doing?
Yeah, it's really good to be back, and really looking forward to interviewing an astrophotographer. This is something that's completely different, left field of what we usually discuss here. And I'm Ashwini. I'm an aerospace engineer. I work for a defense manufacturing company, and I am also a DIY enthusiast. So really looking forward to the discussion today.
All right. So, let's start off. Justus, you want to, introduce yourself? Do you want to say a few words?
Yeah, sure. So, my name is Justus and I'm a 18 years old astrophotographer from northern Germany. And, astrophotographers capture the beauty of the night sky with telescopes and cameras and a crap ton of exposure time. We take many, many hours of photons and capture light from galaxies millions of light years away, and then we are just happy about the images, and that's what we do.
All right, so let me start off by asking you this. So you're 18 now, and like you have done so much of photography and everything that has gone through. When was the first time that you started off these photography, like the serious jump into like astrophotography? When was it? Like when did you do that?
So the first thing I did was using my binoculars from my granddad, and then after that I got my first telescope for Christmas. It was just a small telescope, but you could see many things with it, like Jupiter and the rings of Saturn, and detailed craters on the moon, and that these were the actual first observations I made with the telescope, and that was the first time I learned something about astronomy and the sky. I got the telescope in 2019 and started um, in two, 1 year later, so in 2020, because there was one reason I started photography also was because of the comet Neowise. I think you heard of it. It was one of the brightest comets, of the decade.
Mm-hmm.
That was also one reason I really wanted to photograph objects that are on the night sky.
Nice.
It's an interesting point that you made about things that we can see with our eyes and then things that a camera can capture. How does the night sky look typically out of a video camera lens? Are you able to capture ultraviolet and infrared frequencies as well? And in that sense, does a photograph, raw footage that you take, look very different from what we see with our naked eyes when we look up into the sky?
Yeah, that's a great question. Cameras have specific sensibilities when it comes to a specific wavelength of light. So a camera might be more sensitive in the IR or in the UV. And I mostly use cameras, or my camera has a higher sensibility in the infrared. Um, I that is just because you can see more in the infrared than in the UV in the case of astronomy. So if you want to observe in the ultraviolet wavelengths, you'd have to have a telescope as big as Hubble. Otherwise, you won't
Right.
getting any light through, because UV is really, really hard to get. And my telescope itself is not aligned for such wavelengths. Um, like I have a Newtonian telescope, which is basically two mirrors, and infrared just works better than UV in this case. Mm.
What was your first like long like exposure like picture capture moment like how did you feel when you first captured your first like hours of exposure
Mm.
like photo and just if you could walk me through the journey, like how did you do it, like what was the experience like, the whole journey through it?
Yeah. Yeah, so at first I didn't start using very much long exposures. I sort of wanted to, capture the moments and the things that I see with my telescope. So, I thought about, getting a camera for the telescope. Um, so we bought a, some kind of Wi-Fi cam that, transmits the image live on a laptop screen. And, then we, uh, you know, we, we did a moonwalk on the surface of the moon, if you'd say so. That is something that, sparked me and my parents just about astronomy. And I think that would be the reason that sparked me for astronomy. So, yeah.
Uh, Chustu says someone who's really into DIY. I went through your website and I saw this entire observatory that you made. Could you just tell us about your observatory? It was really interesting to see.
Yeah, sure. So, um, I had to set the telescope up with my bare hands every night, and then, dismantle the telescope, usually in the middle of the night, at 3 a.m. or something. And, that kind of got on my personal nerves. And, I had to, I wanted to have a place where the telescope is permanently mounted so that I can use it at any time that I want. And that gave us the idea to, build or, buy some kind of observatory for the telescope. And the first thing we thought about is that, um, you know, um, how is it called? Manipulating a small garden shed, um, into a roll-off roof observatory, but that didn't do too well because it's just too much work and the price is just way too high. And then a few days after that, we also really made some initial preparations for that, measured things out, and yeah. Anyways, a few days after that, we found a observatory on eBay, which was sold in a German city. So that's the observatory that you see on my website, the so-called Next Dome, and this is a set for building these tiles are made of plastic, and you're going to set them up yourself. And yeah, that's basically the observatory. It has a motor to rotate the dome, and also the programs that the telescope and the dome move accordingly, so the dome never gets before the telescope.
Wow.
Are these panels something that can be 3D printed if you have a really large industry scale printer?
I would say yes, probably yes.
That's really cool.
So
So-
how long did that, like, I'm sorry, Parvesh, just to follow
Yeah,
up
go
on
ahead.
that one, how long did you take to like get this like completed?
I have to say I built this thing up with my parents, with my father and my mother. And for later reference, we have a farmer next door, which was
Mhm.
save it for later. And yeah, we had to first remove some bushes to have the space to put it up. And the first thing we did was building a really, really thick concrete socket to have a base where the observatory is, placed on. And for that, we contacted the farmer next door to give us some concrete. And just in a few hours, this foundation was ready. And setting up the observatory itself isn't so hard. You just basically have to stick some plastic tiles together. It was done in like 1 or 2 days, and yeah.
Great.
The most difficult part for the observatory would be actually to, set up the telescope, because you really have to measure where the telescope is in the observatory so that the dome and the telescope move accordingly.
Mm,
That would be a problem, but once you figure that out, it's just great.
that's awesome. That looks really cool.
I just had a small story to say, that is, back when me and Ashwini were together in Daytona, there was a meteor shower we went to in the middle of the night. I don't know if you remember us.
I do.
Yeah, this was, I think, in February 2013? No, 2014.
14.
Yeah, 2014 Feb. So on days like that, right, like when there are meteor showers or something like that, like, do you capture the whole meteor shower, the whole everything that's happening, or do you like pick and choose? Okay, this time will be a good time to watch, or how does that go?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I wish I could capture everything, but for um last year I captured the Perseid meteor shower. And oh, one thing I have to say about this last year, next to the Perseid meteor shower, there was also really, really bright, northern lights visible, and that was really nice in Germany. And when I'm capturing a meteor shower or aurora, I'm using a really, really wide angle, objective for my camera. But it's not as wide angle that I can capture the whole sky. So it's only a small fraction of the sky.
But even then, like, there are moments where there's not enough meteors falling, and there's moments where there's a lot falling, right? So how do you pick and choose the moments, or do you just let it run for the entire night? Like, what
Yeah,
do you usually do?
basically it's just this. It's completely random. I just hope that I have a meteor seen in my image, and so the mean calculation is that you have one meteor in 1% of all the images of your take, and so you really have to hope that you have one in your images.
Okay.
It's interesting. I
Right.
think a broader question here would be, what is your process and what do you decide to shoot? Because there's an infinity of stars all above us. How do you choose, this is what I need to point my telescope at, this is my frame, and this is what I should?
Right. So most of the time I just choose this completely spontaneously. It depends on the visibility of the object. If in case I wanted to photograph Jupiter, um, for me it has to be really high up in the sky to have a really good view of it. Um, and if auroras are visible, of course I want to photograph them. And if I don't have anything on my mind I want to capture, then I just go to Instagram or TikTok or any social media app and kind of search for inspiration to what to capture, what objects are now you know actual, and yeah, that's just how I do it.
Great. So let's talk through this, like from the time you used your granddad's binoculars till now. What is your like setup journey been like? How have you upgraded yourself to your current setup? If you could talk through that.
Yeah, sure.
How did you start off and where are you at now?
As I said, I got for Christmas a really, really small telescope, but it has its limits. Sooner or later I wanted more high quality images of the things that I was seeing. And um, the equipment doesn't have its limits, so it can get more pricey when you're going on buying astro equipment. And the next telescope that I got after the small one was a 8-inch Newtonian telescope, mounted on a German mount, and I used my cell phone camera and the old Wi-Fi camera that I got with the small telescope to capture some more deeper images of stars and galaxies. And then then somewhere I got my first planetary camera. So in astronomy, you have to differentiate between kinds of cameras. There are planetary cameras and so-called deep sky cameras. Deep sky is basically nebulae, galaxies, and star clusters, the stuff that's really, really far away. The deep sky cameras are usually more expensive than the planetary cameras. But, I also wanted to photograph deep sky objects really, really good. And, then I got my first deep sky camera, which I still use today. I actually have it here next to me. It actually doesn't look like a camera like you're used to know it, like this. It looks like this.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's the whole thing. You plug it into the telescope, and then it shoots pictures. The camera itself is this. You can screw this off, and then you have the sensor right here.
Oh, that's the sensor. Okay.
Okay.
And how much does this cost approximately? Like how much of an investment is this?
Yeah, it can set you back a really much amount. So the camera itself is about 1,500 euros.
Mm-hmm.
But here are some accessories like the coma corrector or these adapters here. These
Mm-hmm.
cost also up to a few hundred euros or dollars.
So if somebody like me who is not like super serious into astrophotography but wants to still like look, get some cool images of the night sky, what do you recommend? Like, what would be the right approach? Is a camera the right thing to do, or is a telescope with the capability of having something like this to take the photo?
Yeah, so my first recommendation would be to definitely not buy a really, really expensive setup, because
Okay.
very, very high end and have to be handled as well. So you have to learn before going into
Mm-hmm.
it. I'd recommend rather smaller telescope with a manual mount that you have to, you know,
Mm-hmm.
track yourself. Learn the basics of astronomy first before going really into imaging. And when you know how to set up a telescope and find good objects, then you might go on buy a camera and try to capture objects. I'd recommend you get a rather smaller telescope with a mount that you have to use manually, and then go on buying some more advanced telescopes and maybe even a camera, and learning that stuff before buying really expensive stuff, which many people actually do the mistake, and then they lose the interest in the hobby.
Got it.
But one thing I have to say as well is, please don't buy the cheapest one you can get.
Okay.
It has to be somewhere in the middle, because one telescope that's too cheap will be just crap. You won't have any fun with that.
So what do you recommend then, like as a direct product, that if you want to recommend, like
Well,
which one would be a good a setup to like somebody like me who has got a clear sky above during the winter sky
Yes.
during the winters, has got a little bit of light pollution because of the suburbia life that I'm living, but still gets a clear sky above. How do I what do I go for?
Yeah, so I would probably choose a Dobsonian telescope, or a Dobsonian telescope probably. So these are basically reflector telescopes that you can put up in under 10 minutes, and then just point it at random objects and try what you can see, and just getting used to telescope, getting used to viewing with telescopes. And yeah, I think that's what I'd recommend. And these also don't cost the world, mostly around 3 to 500 euros.
Great. That's actually a good, that's a great recommendation. Great.
Justus, what was it like making the move from an analog system to a digital system, if that is something I can go with? Because I'm pretty sure your first one must be a telescope with lenses and using your naked eye to make observations. But then, like you said, you moved on to a digital camera. So what was that like?
Yeah, so it was a whole different level, like, right? If you see through a telescope, some planets or deep sky object, is just on a completely different level when seeing those objects with a camera, because a camera can collect much, much more light than our eyes can do. And that's just the thing that amazes me, to see what our eyes can't. And yeah, I think that's the reason.
So coming to my question, what is the furthest away image you've taken? And like, I know that not everything will be clear when you're looking into like further objects. So how do you recognize, okay, this is what this object is, and it's not like a planet, but it's an asteroid or something like that? How do you? What's your process for that?
Yeah, good question. So, to answer the first question, one of my image of the most farthest away objects would be a so-called gravitational lens. So, this is a system of two galaxies that are on the line of sight with the Earth. So, if you have the Earth here and a galaxy here and another galaxy right behind it on the line of the sight, so it's one line, then you have a special effect, the so-called, the gravity lensing effect. I'll explain that later. And because there are not so many systems that we can see from the Earth, they are mostly really, really far away, often billions of light years. And the objects that I captured in this image, which I could share, if it's possible, soon, are 8 to 11 billion light years away. And that would be, one of the most furthest things I ever photographed. And, I teamed up with a friend who had the same telescope for capturing this image. We took over 50 hours of exposure time, because the object itself is really, really faint. And you have to really collect very much light to see this. And yeah, so we knew that we wanted to photograph an object like this, and I searched the internet and found it, and then we captured it.
That's an interesting thing you say, that you have to capture a lot of light. So I have a question related to this. We often see over the internet that a black hole has been captured in a telescope, and then there's these photographs rendered of it. Uh, theoretically, a black hole is something that has zero light coming out of it. So how do you exactly capture a black hole? How do you identify that this is a black hole? And have you ever captured a black hole?
That's also a good question. So, and you're completely right. We can't see black holes directly, but what we can see is the material that is being, sucked in by the telescope, by the black hole, I mean. So when the black hole is, accreting matter, and this matter is, brought up to insanely high speeds, and because of the forces acting upon it, it really begins to glow. And this is like billion times brighter than our sun. And because of that, these, now this accretion disk, how it's called, shines. And that is basically what we see of the black hole. So it's not the black hole itself, it's the accretion disk. And that is what we see. But, it doesn't look different as if we would look at a star. So they basically look the same. We know that it is a accretion disk because we know, what the spectrum of this object is. So, I think you know this method, spectroscopy, where we take the light and make the rainbow, if you want so, and you can basically analyze what these things are made of, and there you have the difference to stars. You see what the matter that is actually in the accretion disk, and that can be a star. And if you then measure the distance to this object, it would be clear that it can't be a star.
That's fascinating.
Oh, and you asked also if I photographed a black hole. Mm, I photographed the thing that I just explained. So the light of the accretion disks. The object is called Tone 618. It's one of the most famous and also one of the biggest black holes that we know to this date. And this object is so-called quasar. So it's the core of a galaxy, but this core is shining so insanely bright that it's outshining its own galaxy, and we just see the center.
So you talk about seeing things far away, right? So we have satellites in our atmosphere or just past our atmosphere. How do you stop them? How do you stop your telescope from focusing on them instead of the objects that are far off? How do you stop them from photobombing you?
So basically, I can't stop them from photobombing. They just do. And that's actually a really, really big issue when it comes to astronomy, because, you have all the Starlink satellites and all the junk that's cruising up there. It can be a really tough problem. But there is a really nice solution, and it has to do with the programs that are used for processing the images. So the programs are, they inherit specific algorithms to remove those light streaks. So when you see a satellite moving, it looks just like a star that's walking across the sky, and that's how I saw the ISS. And in long exposure images, these appear as really bright light streaks, and you don't want to have them in your images. And with the processing programs I use, you can completely clear them out.
So the follow-up question from that would be, like, as an astrophotographer, do you think more satellite launches are going to be like something which is not encouraged from the astronomy community?
I think it's so. You have a side of astrophotographers who support this because it's technical advance. Who wouldn't like that? But on the other hand, it's just the bad thing that I just explained. It is really disturbed, and also some people bring this project up of a really, really big reflector in our orbit that is
Yeah,
how it's called. It's supposed
to reflect the light of the sun towards us, like, zip codes that you pay for. Yeah,
that's completely insane. Why? Yeah.
Yep.
So I read about this just before this episode. There's a California-based company called Reflect, and they have
Mhm.
come up with this idea where you put in a pin code and huge mirrors in the sky just reflect sunlight onto you. It sounds like a Bond movie plot, because it is. It is from a really old Bond movie.
It's insane.
I
But
just want to take 1 second to go slightly off topic and say this idea is so impractical, because just the amount of carbon offset you have from the launches that you do, you're just never going to recover with that reflected sunlight. You're just not going to have any sort of energy efficiency there.
But it'll be morning all the time.
They have their reasons. All I can say is that. Anyways, coming back to this topic. So, you said something about, like, finding the capturing black holes, and, like, you did try to at least get, like, the outer circle of
Accretion.
yeah, of the black hole. So how do you actually locate it? Like, how do you know when to look for it, where to look for it? How do you track it, and how do you start your, because I'm pretty sure you have to still do like couple of hours of exposure time, and how do you know that you have spent that time correctly, or how do you track it?
yeah, that's also a good question. So you have to imagine the whole sky is separated in coordinates. Every corner in the night sky has its own coordinate. And if you know the specific coordinates of an object, you can tell the telescope to move it there, and then you have it in the middle. And for known objects, these coordinates are registered in big databases like the Simbird database, where you can just type the name in and you have the coordinates in an instant. And yeah, then the next process is to point the telescope exactly where the object is, and that that works with the help of a process called plate solving. So what this means is that the telescope basically does go in the direction, but not exactly on the point. And what the telescope then is doing is it is capturing with the camera here an image, and in this image, stars should be visible. And with the help of the stars visible, the program can exactly calculate where the telescope is pointing on the night sky, and therefore calculate the difference where it has to move to point exactly at the object. And that's the process of plate solving and how we find objects. For planets and stuff in the solar system or comets, that doesn't work so good because they have proper motion and don't have fixed coordinates. You can automate your whole telescope in these days, so that the electronics is so much advanced. You don't even need to be at the telescope to. You can just go to sleep and it will go through successfully. So the telescope can basically take images on its own the whole night, so you don't have to worry about anything.
That's insane.
So now we're in an age where AI and stuff is like uh, crazy popular, right? So how close is the image you capture from like after your post processing and stuff? And do you use any AI or any other tools to sort of fix the image?
Yes, my process is basically, so as an astrophotographer, you want to capture the most of hours of exposure time you can possibly get, as long as the object is visible in the night sky. And what you're doing is you're capturing many, many images a night, let's say 100 images in a night, and these images are a total of 5 minutes of exposure time. And at the end of the night, you have, let's say, 10 hours of exposure time, and you add the images on top of each other. That's called stacking. And that's the stack that you get at the end. That's like 10 hours of exposure time in total, then gets, post-processed with, you have to correct for the color because the atmosphere is, uh, disturbing the colors. You have to, there are some really, really good processes and programs that help you achieve a real color, how it would look to the eye. And yeah, that's one of the things. And you also asked about AI, and it's taken a really, really a bigger role in astrophotography. There are many tools in astrophotography that work with AI, such as blur exterminator or noise exterminator, which are using basically AI to sharpen the image and um, use a noise reduction on the image. But if you really look into the how this actually works, you know that you'll notice that the AI doesn't add anything that is not there. It tries to, get the most of the data what's actually in it. So, you know, you can't say it's fake. It's just sharp.
Typically, once you're done with a shoot, what are the file sizes for your raw footage?
Oh, that's a good question. The 80, so one subframe often got a size of 5 GB, somewhere around that. So the finished would be, yeah, really, really big.
So do you have some special sort of storage? Because we are all running out of storage with our Google Photos. So how exactly do you manage all your file storage?
Basically, these are just, solid state drives that I use to, put the data on. And these are, I can mm, access them anytime I want to process data. And yeah, that's just how I do it.
Cool. So, like now that we have known like how you're taking your photos and what your setup looks like and what the post processing looks like, where do you see yourself next? Like, what's the next step that you're trying to do with this? Like all this photography skills that you're having right now, and you're just 18. So, what's your next step?
Yeah, thank you very much. So the next step for me would be actually studying physics. That would, decrease my activity in astrophotography. So basically, the next thing is not to, you know, image the cosmos, but to really mathematically understand the cosmos, and that's what the, um, um, you know, course in physics will teach me to do.
So, mathematically understanding the cosmos, what would you achieve by doing that? So, what's the intent behind it?
So I really want to become an astrophysicist.
Okay.
I want to, have my PhD in it, and I think my, scientific interest would be galaxies and black holes and that kind of stuff. And I really want to try to, you know, um, solve some mysteries of dark matter and how it interacts with galaxies. I really want to do some research in that.
That's amazing.
So let's say you're given the chance to go into space. Would you do it? Or
Definitely, yes.
okay.
In my opinion, so let's take the moon, for example. I think it's just a really, really nice, place for radio telescope, especially on the, far side of the moon, because, you don't have any interference with, earthbound signals. And, also for optical telescopes, of course, you could build.
That was gonna be my next question. Like,
Could
would
be-
you want to have an observatory like outside of the Earth?
Yeah, why not? Of course, that would be really, really nice.
I think it'll be such an interesting conversation if you bring someone who's studying astrophysics and you bring someone who's studying microbiology and put them in the same room, because you really get this entire sort of spectrum of something as small as, say, bacteria, fungi, and you get these giant supernova. And we as human beings are somewhere in between that in terms of size. It really puts into perspective how small and how big our entire universe is. And we as human beings have a role to play in it. So it's a really interesting question to think of. Why is it important to look at the universe? And it's really cool that in the grand scheme of things, we are much larger than these subatomic particles, but much smaller than these giant galaxies that are out there in the sky.
I guess that would be a question to ask, right? Like, I mean, why do we want to look up in the sky?
Yeah, so I think one of the main reasons is to basically figure out where we come from. Basically, everything we know is made from stardust. You know, the gold ring that you have on your finger is literally made from gold that has been exploded in a supernova billions or millions of years ago. And, that's just fascinating to me. You know, also how the water got on Earth would be answered with astronomy. So we had, as the solar system was young, we had debris around the sun, that clumped together. Now we have the planets, and the rest, are comets today, and these, crashed on the Earth and then left water. So I think that's what would be one of the reasons to look up, and uh, of course, to understand more about the universe itself. So how does everything work? How, how do we explain things that are not explained yet, like dark matter, or the Big Bang, or what was before the Big Bang, or the inner thing of a black hole, which we don't know.
Fascinating.
Have you ever tracked an extraterrestrial body or a UFO? I'm not saying have you seen aliens, just an unidentified flying object.
Yeah. So basically, when I see a moving star that is moving across the sky, it's basically for me an UFO, because I can tell what it is in the first place. Of course, it most of the times it would be some kind of satellite, or maybe a plane or something. But to be honest, I haven't seen anything weird till now. So in the most case, it just was a satellite or a plane or a meteor that came down.
The most recent one I can think of is Oumuamua. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right. It was something that had come into the solar system, and I'd read about this on the news. Is that something you tracked?
Personally, I didn't track Oumuamua. So Oumuamua is basically a comet that is coming from the interstellar space. So the space outwards of the solar influence, probably belonged to another star system and got somehow kicked out of there by maybe gravitational influences, and now it's going through, or it went through, the inner solar system. Astrophysicists use radio telescope and tried to find some alien life on there. Well, of course, they didn't find anything. It's just a normal comet, and recently there is another type of interstellar comet visiting the solar system, which you might also have heard of. It's called 3I Atlas.
Yes.
Many media channels say this is an alien UFO. Yeah, but I can assure you it's not.
Well, are you interested in radio telescopes and like the SATA societies, which actually are looking for extraterrestrial radio signals by any chance?
Yeah, very much.
Okay.
I really, really, yeah, also like radio astronomy, because, yeah, when looking, at the radio wavelength, you have, um, other, materials you can find than in the, light electric spectrum. You have, CO2, water you can detect with radio telescopes, and, um, everything, which you just can't see in the electromagnetic spectrum of light. And I have to say that I also like it because my father,
Yeah.
so he doesn't do astronomy, but is communication. Basically, is through radio waves, but it's not astronomy. And you could think further of that, because you can tune the device to the specific wavelengths of radio emissions that are coming from space. Of course, you won't hear anything with a small antenna, but it's just crazy to think that you can make it. I'm looking at it really with very much excitement of possibly finding a alien message. Um, but I think that if an alien civilization tries to connect with us, or with any civilization they might find, and they maybe do not exist anymore, or we cannot answer them at all, because there are coming the dimensional sizes again. So our galaxy itself, the Milky Way, is a diameter of 250,000 light years. And let's say you'd send a radio signal 10 years ago, that signal would be 10 light years gone today, which is nothing, right? So it would be very, very hard, I think.
Mm.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting thing you bring up, that just the dimensions of the universe are so high, and it's so large that any sort of interdimensional communication with someone really far away means that you're talking to them way back in the past. And this entire sort of time dilation thing is something that is really fancy to wrap your head around, but it's also something that's really based out of physics. But uh, talking about this, what are some really cool tech that you're looking forward to, say, in the next 1 or 2 years that will really improve the way you do your photography, the way you observe the universe?
Okay. At the moment, I'm really, really happy with the tech I have. I think when I'm going to study physics and, specialize on astronomy, which you can do in Munich, I'll have access to way, way, way bigger telescope, like the 2 meter Wendelstein telescope, which is located in Bavaria, one of the biggest telescopes in Europe. And these will just be in completely different dimensions. You can really, research the cosmos with these.
Have you just seen recently there was this content creator on Instagram that took the shot of a man in free fall with the backdrop of the sun's chromosome? It's
Yeah,
become like a really famous thing. It's so cool.
I did actually. And then uh, I think his name is Andrew McCarthy. It's one of the greatest astrophotographers I know. Um,
Exactly.
and yeah, it's just a stunning image, right? I I think he has planned it with the person who is in front of the sun. So I mean that's just exciting. Like how to plan such an image is it's just great.
And it's such a cool shot. I mean, to everyone who's watching this episode, we link this in the description. Please go check it out.
Okay. So Justice, do you watch anime? Um, do you play games? Do you have any media that inspires you?
Um, I I watched anime some time ago, but I sort of came off from that because I lost the time to watch anime. But I really, really enjoyed it, I have to say. I most of the time I watched romance animes. uh, and I also play Minecraft, but not much more. So that was because my parents only allowed me to play Minecraft, and because of that, I didn't have the motivation to download any more games. Well, maybe Flappy Bird or something.
In the future, would you play more games?
I think
Because
so.
there's a few. Okay. Because there's a few games that I think would be in your wheelhouse. There's like No Man's Sky. There is Outer Worlds. They're all like space exploration kind of games.
Yeah.
So I was
Um,
wondering if you ever considered.
I think so. Yes, because when I get the time, I think I'm going to do it. Yes. I mean, there are also some games like Space Engine or these kind of games. These are just cool, right? Where you can
Yeah,
go.
Universe Sim is a good game as well. You can sort of simulate like two galaxies crashing, things like that. So yeah. And so my gamer tag is Quasar 3D. So I want to ask, have you ever seen a quasar or a pulsar?
Yeah, so a quasar, I actually photographed a quasar. That is what I said earlier with the the accretion disk that is billion times brighter than the sun. And I also photographed the pulsar. Let me explain that. Um, so one of the nicest objects in the northern sky would be Messier 1, the Crab Nebula, which is a supernova remnant. And what happened there is that a star, burned off its fuel and then, exploded in a supernova explosion. And what is, left from this is, basically the core of the star. And that is, in fact, a pulsar.
Do you have a picture of it, or do you have any captures of it by any chance that you could
Uh,
share with us?
I could. Let me search for it. I have to check my folders. Okay, I could try to I found an image. I could try to share my screen. Um I
Perfect.
I have to make a bit of explanation. What I kept what I'm going to show now is an image of Messier 1. And the specialty of this image is that it shows the nebula expanding. So it's actually a video, if you want so, that is taken years apart. So I kept a good friend of me captured an image of the nebula 11 years ago, and I captured one image of the nebula last year. And, blinking those images forth and back will show the expansion of the nebula.
Great.
And let me try to share this. One moment. Can you see this?
Yeah.
So, and if I turn this on, you will see that the nebula is expanding.
That's insane. What is the change in the color?
That's a good question. So, my friend and I used specific filters to capture the image, and that is the reason I captured this from the Neumünster Observatory, where I am a member of. So not in my own observatory, and because Neumünster is a very, very big city, we have a little bit of light pollution there, and we have to use light pollution filters. But I didn't know that my friend used a different filter than I, and so the filters they block out the whole spectrum except some specific wavelengths of light, and because we have different filters, we see different wavelengths, and that's the color difference.
Got it. That's actually pretty cool.
Thank you.
That's a really cool shot. Justus, do you have a favorite object that you've captured or a favorite shot from your gallery of photos?
Yeah, I have, and it's actually in my background here. This one, I don't think you can see it as well, so I think I'm going to share it as well. This is called this is a galaxy called Messier 33, which is a neighbor galaxy of the Milky Way, 2.7 million light years away, and it's one of the most beautiful objects that you can photograph because it's very, very detailed, and you look into the galaxy right in front. So I try to share the screen. Give me a moment.
While you're sharing this, is this the same shot that got you an award as well?
No, not this one. The picture that got me an award would be the picture of the gravitational lens that I explained earlier. I could show that too.
Okay.
But first, I'm going to show Messier 33. Oh man, I have so many images. Okay, there it is. And now screen share. So it looks like this.
Wow.
Wow. This is
So
very pretty.
it's actually almost the galaxy how we would see it with the naked eye. So the color was calibrated through the spectra of the stars. So the colors are extremely accurate in this case. And there's so many details in this image. It's just great. One of the most remarkable features of the galaxy would be this here. This is NGC 604, which is an HII region. So this is a really, really, really big cloud of hydrogen and oxygen, but not as gases, so it's highly ionized. And under gravity, this gas, if you want, I call it gas now, is compressing, and then stars are formed out of this. So basically, these are generating stars and maybe also new Earth and new civilizations.
Wow. Okay.
That is just such an impressive shot.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So earlier in the episode, you were talking about the gravitational lenses.
Yes. I can show you that as well. I'll just open the image. Okay, so what you're seeing here is a really, really small dot of light. This is an image with over 50 hours of exposure time. So
Wow.
let me explain what we see here. In the middle, we have this red dot here. And that is a galaxy in 8 billion light years distance, so it's incredibly far. And then you see this light blue ring around here. And that is another galaxy. And what happens there is you have to again imagine the line of sight. So you have the Earth, then the red galaxy, and then behind that the lighter blue galaxy. And what happens then is because of the gravitational field of the red galaxy, which is in the foreground, the blue galaxy in the background gets distorted. So the light of the galaxy in the background moves through the gravitational field and is distorted. And that is why we see the galaxy in the background as sort of a ring. And the galaxy in the background is somewhere around 11 billion light years away. So
Wow.
a little bit further.
So 50 hours of exposure time to get this picture.
Yeah. And
That is insane.
this is really, really zoomed in now. And now I'm going to zoom out and you can see how small this thing actually appears in my image.
Yeah, I saw it was at 500% zoom that you did. Wow.
That's the image, and the gravitational lens is located here. So you can imagine how this thing is.
If there's anything else that you want to share with us and our audience, and explain to us on why it would be amazing.
Yeah, sure. I'm going to show an image now, which I captured over the last years, which is also very, very, very impressive. And this looks like this. And this is called NGC 6888, which is a so-called Wolf-Rayet emission nebulae. So what we have here in the center is a so-called Wolf-Rayet star, which is a really, really hot and old star. And, basically the star ejected its outer shells, and because of its high energy and high temperature, it ionizes the gases around here and causes them to shine in different colors in this case. So when we capture some gases in the space, we use specific filters to capture the light of these gases. In this case, we have oxygen, which would be blue. We have the hydrogen, which would be reddish pink. And we have the sulfur, which would be slightly golden.
Wow.
This image consists of roughly 46 hours of exposure time. And yeah, this was captured from my observatory.
Really cool. So
Thank you.
my question was, is the volume of gas here really that large? Or is it just because of the perspective that we're seeing so much gas in the background?
Yeah, so when a star is ejecting its material, it is happening with so much energy that the gas is actually traveling really, really far distances. These can go up to many, many light years.
Okay. So it is actually that large.
Yes.
I think to everyone who's listening in, who's interested in astrophotography, we should definitely link in Justus's website. And I think I encourage everyone to take a look because there's some really good shots there. I myself spent a lot of time just going through the website, and even your social media with your Instagram and to whoever's using TikTok, just go through some of the videos that Justus has posted, and it's really fun to see. And I definitely encourage following creators like this, and it's been such a fascinating time talking to you, Justus.
If you have something that you wanted to talk about, anything to your followers, this through this platform, or just give your inspirations to people who want to go down the same path, if you want to say some things about that.
So what inspired me most about astronomy was the dimensions. So we have such unimaginably big universe with galaxies that include billions and billions of stars and potentially even habitable planets that life could form on. We are a very, very, very small point when it comes to the universe. So our little Earth is just a tiny bit of our galaxy. And our galaxy, the Milky Way, isn't even one of the biggest galaxies out there. So there are many, many bigger. That's just a thing that I can give to people who start in astronomy. Be amazed by the dimensions and the beauty of the universe.
Got it. I think that's very well put, actually. And I agree with you. We are just a small dot in the whole entire cosmos. So, it's just like that's the reality of things. At the same time, it's very fascinating to explore it. So.
And we are also amazed, not just by the grand of the universe, but also in talking to you and all of your work. It was just really nice to talk to you. And we've spent more than an hour talking to you. It didn't feel like we've spoken for more than a few minutes. So thank you for coming on today, and thank you for showing us all your work. And I encourage everyone who's listening in to definitely go ahead and take a look at all of the social media for Justus.
I'm really impressed by the work that you have done so far, and also what your plans going forward are, which is really exciting. I think also for our podcast itself, I think it's one of those full circle moments where we really are standing true to our name, which is basically Ground Control to Major Nerds. Like, we nerded out.
I really, really love the name, by the way.
Great. Yeah, that's Ashwini's idea, by the way. So I think we had a great episode, and I think there'll be a lot of questions from our audience, and also I would encourage everybody to look through your socials, your TikTok and your Instagram, which we're going to link down in the description, obviously. So I wish you a lot of good luck and best wishes for your journey forward, and I hope to see you as a astrophysicist in like a couple of years going forward. And also, if you end up coming to the US, hope you connect with me and with us. And also, if you go to India, you definitely connect with my co-hosts as well, so that we could definitely keep in touch and make sure that we give you another episode on our podcast when you're there. So so thank you so much for coming on and having this lovely conversation, Justus.
Yeah, thank you very much for your opportunity for me to speak here. It was a honor for me, and I'm looking forward to our next meeting, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. All right.
He's inspired me to go look up telescopes to buy. I'm looking at it on the side.
That was the whole point of that question that I did. But anyways, thank you so much, guys, for tuning in into this episode. Please do like, share, and subscribe, and also follow Justus on his platforms, and definitely check out his website. And also for us, please do reach out to us with any of your questions from this episode, and we can actually redirect those questions to Justus as well and get some answers if required. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please do comment. Please do like. It helps us a lot as a platform. Thank you so much, guys. And that's a wrap.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Peace. See ya.